All right. So it's been a minute since I did a YouTube video. My last video was Friday last week as an update to the chaos that kind of ensued here with the animals. And I wasn't really going to plan on doing a video except for something came up and I wanted to discuss it. So I'll get into that in just a minute. But I did get the results from my MRI for my shoulder. I do have a mild slap tear. It started about 4 weeks ago. So I talked to my pain management nurse, called me just a couple days ago. And we're going to give it some more time, see what happens and we'll readdress it in about a month. So I've had this problem ongoing off and on for about 10 years, I think. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I am just taking it easy and laying low, and it's feeling a lot better. So there's that. And then tomorrow, if my mom and I can make it happen, we're going to do a conversation together. And I think the plan is, what I would like to do is to record my PC screen and show the video that I did right when I first started this page called Let's Talk Bipolar 101. And we're going to listen through it, and we're going to pause it, and we're going to talk about it, because there's some things that she remembers about my particular experience that I don't, for good reason, because I was out of my mind. So we're going to try to have that conversation tomorrow. So, keep an eye out. If you haven't subscribed and you want to see that video coming tomorrow, hit the like button or subscribe button. I know that YouTube's got some weird stuff going on with subscribers, so it may not make a difference. But if you want to try, that's a way to do it. So that should be coming tomorrow. And then I didn't go to the mountains this week. They got a bunch of snow. It was going to be messy and icky. My friend who invited me ended up coming back into town because the weather looked so iffy. And anyway, so we're just going to wait until the weather's better for it and it's like more meant to be. But the reason that I wanted to do this today, I received an email in my inbox this morning. And sorry for the table shake. My cat's on the table. I don't want to lock her up while I do this. I feel like that's kind of mean. Anyway, so I think I've received this particular, well, not this particular email, but embedded within the email when you actually click on, onto it and then opens it up, and then there's several articles in it. One of the articles, I'm pretty sure it's the exact same article. It's shown up in my life like a half a dozen times or more. And this article bothers me, and I'm not going to say what the article is or where it's from or who wrote it or anything. I will put the link to it in the description tab of this video if you want to go look for it. But I don't want to just air the dirty laundry, because this is my opinion only. I am not a professional, but this email or emails similar to it really bother me, and I want to talk about why. So I didn't share my screen on this one. I'm just going to have it go in the background. I thought about using my phone to do it, but I know that I'll get a phone call or a text or something, and it'll just be interruptive. So I'm just going to do it this way. But like I said, I will attach the link into the description when I'm done with this video. The title of the article is called 10 Things Not to Say to Someone with Bipolar Disorder. Even the title bothers me, because it's almost like I'm telling you how to talk to me. And I'm going to be offended if you don't change your language for my sake. And while that might be true in some situations, it is also true that whether you have bipolar disorder or whatever mental illness or mental health issues you struggle with, I think one thing that's not really pushed anymore is kind of how to develop a backbone. And I hate if this is sounding harsh, because I don't mean it to sound harsh, but I don't want us to I don't want to perpetuate the narrative that we are so fragile that you can't talk to me a certain way. Now, in one of my previous videos, the one about guilt and when to let it go, I talk about a former friend named Sarah. And Sarah, that wasn't her real name, but Sarah once told me that I was too smart to have bipolar disorder. Now, I had never read anything at this point about bipolar disorder. I didn't even really believe that I'd had it. I was kind of coming to terms with it. This was very fresh to me. So I knew that was an offensive thing for her to say, But it wasn't because of an article that I read. And there's a difference there too. Like some people can just say stupid stuff without there being an article that's like outlined and like bullet pointed for what not to say to somebody with bipolar disorder. So I'm not going to read probably every one of these descriptions of these things to not say, but I'm going to kind of show you why they bother me. And I don't know, like, if these are in any kind of order of importance. I'm just going to start with number one, and it's 10 things. So we're just going to start with number one. Not saying that number one is the most important or number 10 is the most important. The first one, though, is you sound a little down today. Why can't you say that to somebody with bipolar disorder? You can say that to me. That is not a problem. In fact, I encourage you to, if something is off with me and something's just not quite right with me, and you look at me and you say, you sound a little down today, it might spark me to talk about whatever it is that's bothering me and open up a dialogue here that we can actually have a conversation about. I don't think that that's a bad thing to say to somebody with bipolar disorder. Let's see. I'm reading just real quick. I don't know if this is a she or a he that wrote this, but it says, I don't need my symptoms constantly gauged or continually evaluated. It's like having a never-ending physical. Most people with mental illness know how they feel. Being told you are not sounding well is not constructive, nor is it a substitute for true compassion. I completely disagree. And this is why I'm saying, okay, so that was offensive to the person that wrote it, or that came across wrong to the person that wrote it. That's fine. But I'm not okay with putting it in an article, a blanketed article entitled 10 Things Not to Say to Somebody with Bipolar Disorder, because I got no problem with that. If I seem down, point it out. Because maybe I'll open up and I'll talk about it. Now, if you say it every day, we might have a problem. Or if you're like constantly, like this person said, evaluating me on everything, then yeah, we might have a problem. But that one doesn't bother me at all. So this is kind of why I wanted to start this conversation. Number two, I thought you were taking your medication. Well, that's kind of weird to say to anybody who takes medication for anything, right? Like that just, I don't know. Unless you're like a child taking an antibiotic for a sickness that you have and your parents are like checking on you and saying like, did you take your antibiotic, or come, you need to take your medicine today, whatever. That just sounds weird to me to say to anybody who's on any kind of medication. I thought you were taking your medication. In my opinion, nobody should say that to anybody, mental illness or not. Do you see what I mean? Like it doesn't make sense to me. This article, and I'm pretty sure this is the exact same one that I keep getting, like I said, like once a year. And it just happened to show up today. And I'm like, and I had thought about this a few weeks ago when I was doing these videos. I'm like, if that article ever comes up, I'm talking about it because I disagree. I don't want to get into the details of why this person was offended by that comment. Now, if you're offended by that, that's fine. But I'm just saying that not all people with bipolar disorder would take that wrong. It shouldn't be put in an article like this. It promotes the wrong message to me. Number three, you're too smart to have bipolar disorder. I think take bipolar disorder out of it and replace it with anything. You're too smart to have this. You're too smart to have that. You're too smart to have that. That's rude. Period. It has nothing to do with mental illness. It's rude to talk that way. It's rude to engage with somebody that way. You're too smart to blah, blah, blah. You're too smart to be addicted to alcohol. You're too smart to have PTSD. It's not bipolar specific. Do you see my problem here? Like, the article offends me. I hate to say it, but I mean, I'm not offended in a way where I'm going to start a revolution or anything. But the article's offensive to me because I think that you just don't say that to anybody, mental illness or not. Now, this one I kind of agree with, and I'll tell you why. I have an ex-friend, not Sarah, but we'll call this one April. see if I can hold on and remember to call her April. April and I were sister-in-laws for a long time. Sisters-in-law, I never know how to say it. For a few years, not a long time. But then we ended up becoming friends after both of our divorces. She and I are very different in our beliefs, in our political stances. It was kind of doomed from the beginning. I won't lie. But after my diagnosis, she and I went on a trip. April and I went on a trip, and we were driving and we were in the car, and I had been on my medication. It wasn't long. It wasn't long. I think it was a year and a half after I started my medication. So I felt like I was pretty adapted, but it took me a couple of years to really get good with my medication. And we're driving down the highway, and she says to me, such and such person that she works with, oh, yeah, that person is bipolar. They are nuts. They are crazy. She would say this to me. And number 4 on this list is, quote, you know he's bipolar, don't you? Yeah, that was kind of offensive. Like when she said that, not only did she say, oh yeah, so-and-so that I work with, she has bipolar disorder and she is crazy. Like, yeah, that's rude. That's absolutely rude. But couldn't you replace the word bipolar with anything and have that be insulting kind of regardless, especially if you add in the, yeah, they're crazy part. Let's even say it's good news, or coworker, oh yeah, she's pregnant. My coworker so-and-so, oh yeah, is pregnant. Oh, she's crazy. It's kind of rude. I don't care if it's good news or what, but it just seems weird. I can understand this one, but I can still see how you can substitute the word bipolar for a huge number of other things, and it still be wrong to say to somebody. It's like I said earlier about like PTSD or addiction. Oh yeah, so-and-so, they're an addict. They're crazy. That's rude too. This has nothing to do specifically with bipolar. This is just like general knowledge of how to don't be a jerk. So anyway, listen to number 5. Listen to number 5. Number 5. This is one of the 10 things that this article says that's from a reputable website that promotes wellness for bipolar disorder. Number 5 on this list is stop acting like a fool. How is that totally specific to bipolar disorder? I don't get it. I don't see it. Let's see. Some conduct associated with bipolar disorder can be very difficult to contend with. When you realize, however, that a particular behavior is actually symptomatic and born of the illness, it makes accepting and dealing with it much easier. I see families who think that their situation is unmanageable until they meet other families facing the same circumstances. With education and patience, these families come to realize that there is an explanation for what they've been witnessing. You can act like a fool on alcohol. You can act like a fool because of PTSD. You can act like a fool because of depression. You can act like a fool because you're a foolish person. This is not bipolar specific. And if I'm missing something, please feel free to comment and correct me. My approach with this channel is to respond in love, with in kindness, with whoever comes at me in my comments. I want to be kind about it. I am more than willing to have an open mind about this. Please tell me what I'm not seeing, because I don't see how stop acting like a fool. And then, if we say in this article, like I was saying earlier, if this article really is 10 things not to say to somebody with bipolar disorder, and I tell you to not tell me to stop acting like a fool, I'm telling you to walk on eggshells for my benefit. You need to walk on glass for my benefit. Here's how I handle these things. You tell me that I'm too smart to have bipolar disorder. You tell me that your coworker has bipolar and she's freaking crazy. You tell me to stop acting a fool. You're not going to be in my life anymore. It has nothing to do with this list. If you can't be kind to me, if you can't be kind about what I'm going through, then you're not going to be in my life anymore. That's all there is to it. Stop acting like a fool has nothing to do with bipolar disorder. People who do foolish things aren't just cursed with bipolar disorder. That's insulting to me to say. That's how I take it. Maybe I'm taking it too literally. Number 6, it doesn't take much to set you off. Those of us who have bipolar disorder are often more vulnerable and responsive to what happens around us. When you make careless statements, your tongue becomes a trigger that can rouse a reaction and escalate symptoms. You unnecessarily incite a mood change in the person you really want to help. Don't look at this list and say, oh, well, number 6 said it does. No, it doesn't take much to set you off. I shouldn't say that. Measure. The thing about what I think how to approach somebody with bipolar disorder is to measure their mood when you're in interaction, when you're having an interaction with them. It's not that hard to measure their mood. Just with kind of casual, light conversation, you can measure their mood. And if they're flying off the handle, no, I wouldn't say it doesn't take much to set you off to somebody like that. That's not how I would approach somebody. But maybe I'm a lot more different than a lot of people, and I just didn't realize it. But that just seems weird to say to somebody, even if they are or aren't easily set off. That's just a weird thing to say to somebody. It just seems rude. And it's you shouldn't say it regardless. Forget mental illness. You just shouldn't say it regardless. Ugh. You're lazy and don't have a life anymore. What does that have to do specifically with bipolar disorder? I'm telling you right now, if you look at me and you say you're lazy and don't have a life anymore, that will be the last time you ever talk to me. And it's not because of bipolar disorder. It's because you're being a jerk. You're being a fool, not me. Do you see my thing here? With this article, this is why I have trouble with this article or articles like this when they come around, because it's the content of the article, it's out of context with the title. It's out of context. The title of this article should be changed. 10 things not to say to people if you don't want to be a jerk. It's not that hard. And then just replace the words bipolar in here. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hard on these people. Number 8, we used to have high hopes for you. Are you kidding me? So that's because I have bipolar disorder that you would say that to me? You shouldn't say that to anybody ever. We used to have high hopes for you. Give me a break. Give me a break. This article, I was thinking about it earlier. This article, in my opinion, stigmatizes mental illness even more. Because it's saying that we're so fragile that these horrible things that you could say to other people, we used to have high hopes for you. What was the one before it? You're lazy and don't have a life anymore. Those wouldn't hurt other people, but they're going to hurt us. That's bull. That is absolute baloney. That's going to hurt anybody. Shouldn't say it. Number 9, don't take everything so personally. Again, don't say that to people, period. I don't know. Number 10, you seem a little over enthusiastic. Okay. It just falls flat on me at this point. By the time I get to numbers 9 and 10, I'm just kind of, I just am already kind of this is a junk article. This isn't true. Now, the things where, when you scroll down a little further, it does say what you can say. This isn't specific to people with bipolar disorder. I love you and I care. You're not alone in this. I'm sorry you're in so much pain. I'm always willing to listen. I'll be your friend no matter what. This will pass. We can ride it out together. You are important to me. When all this is over, I'll still be here. You should be saying that to everybody. This is part of why the world is so broken. That's not just for people with bipolar disorder. That should be for everybody. But the way it's just worded in this article, it just bugs me. I don't know. It just bugs me. And like I said, I won't drop the name of the author, and I won't go through all the little details of, I'll put it in the description. But like I said, number one, I scrolled back up. Number one, you sound a little down today. I have zero problem with that. If somebody said to me, I thought you were taking your medication, that's number two. If somebody said to me, like my husband or my mom said, I thought you were taking your medication, well, that's not really a problem for me either, because I am taking my medication. So that one really doesn't bug me. You're too smart to have bipolar disorder. Like I said, you're too smart to blah, 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 fill in the blank. That's just stupid language on your part if you're talking to people that way. He's bipolar, don't you? He's blah, 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 don't you? You say it with the wrong inflection or the right inflection, depending on if you're trying to be offensive or not. It doesn't matter what the word is. It doesn't have to say bipolar. It can say anything. Stop acting like a fool. I can't imagine myself saying that to anybody. Unless it's like in a joking way. My husband and I call each other fools all the time, but we're joking and flirting. Like, it's cute. But to actually, like, seriously look at somebody and say, stop acting like a fool. I can't imagine myself ever. That would never come out of my mouth anyway. Why are you telling me to not say that to somebody with bipolar? I wouldn't say that to anybody. Even my crazy neighbor back here, I wouldn't yell, stop acting like a fool. I mean, like, hello, it's just whatever. I'm going through it one more time. It doesn't take much to set you off. If somebody looks at me, especially if it's somebody that's like, even if it was a really close friend and they said, it doesn't take much to set you off, I'd probably ask, why are you saying that? First of all, I don't get set off. So maybe that's part of the problem with this article. I really don't have a knee-jerk reaction anymore to what people say to me. Like I said, I've kind of developed a backbone here, and I've got my skin's a little thicker now, and I can kind of take it. That doesn't mean I want to be trashed by anybody, but and maybe that's part of this article why I wanted to read it, is because it's like, if you put in the work and you flex the muscles of confidence, of embracing your flaws, knowing that you still have purpose, finding your path, seeking wellness, maintaining recovery. If you go on that path, then pretty much any of these 10 things that somebody could say to you, whether they know you have bipolar or not, you're going to get to a place where you're like, whatever. They don't know me. If they're saying this to me, they don't know me, I guess is what it comes down to, because I can't imagine anybody saying this to me because none of them apply to me. You're lazy and don't have a life anymore. I'm sorry, I do have a life. I make it a point to have a life. Maybe that's part of the problem, is that I'm not, but I was in that hopeless place. And I know what that feels like. And no, you shouldn't say these things to somebody when they're at their lowest. But in my opinion, you shouldn't say these things to anybody even when they're at their best. That's the point of this. Anyway, that's it. I will attach this to the description, and feel free to comment. Let's try to keep it kind. This is one of those things that it could go either way. And like I just said, being in a hopeless, dark place would change my perspective on how I interpret that article. I completely agree with that. I wouldn't take it the same way if I was in a different place mentally. I wouldn't take it the direction or interpret it the way that I do now if I was in that place. That's part of it. But the other part of it is we shouldn't be just narrowing down these rude comments to bipolar disorder when they're not. It's like I said, the title needs to be changed. It needs to be like 10 things not to say if you don't want to be a jerk in the world. because it doesn't have anything specifically to do with somebody with bipolar disorder. Yes, somebody with bipolar disorder at their lowest may take those things worse than somebody else, but anybody at their lowest, bipolar or not, isn't going to respond well to those comments. So it's just something that I wanted to point out because like I said, this article, it's seriously, I think it's the same one or it's very similar. It shows up in my inbox like once every year or twice a year. And I keep opening it, reading it, thinking, oh, maybe it's improved. And then I'm super disappointed because it's exactly the same as it's been since I subscribed to this page or whatever to receive emails. It's the same thing every time. And it stigmatizes us. It says people with bipolar disorder can't handle a jerk in their lives. That's why I don't have jerks in my life, first of all. There's a quote that I love. How does it go? It's like, be careful what you tolerate because you're teaching others how to treat you. You know, if you can't tolerate the way people are talking to you, do what I did with Sarah. And ultimately, I didn't go into it, but what ultimately happened with April and I. Is that who I said she was? April? The one that I was on the highway with? I think it was April. Neither of them are in my life anymore because they are kind of jerks. They don't know how to be gentle. And it's not just with people with bipolar disorder. I've seen them not be gentle with a decent amount of people in their lives. So it ain't just me. But anyway, I just thought I would put that out there because, wow, whenever that pops up, it's just like, okay, now I got to talk about this because this is insane. And it's untrue. It's untrue. Break the stigma. Break the stigma. All right, well, stay tuned. Tomorrow, hopefully, my mom and I can do a conversation about that Bipolar 101 video. I encourage any parents who have a child with bipolar disorder, doesn't matter what age they are, to watch. My mom has some amazing points and a unique perspective to what happened to me before I went into the psych hospital. And I think that you'd get a lot out of what she has to say more than me in that kind of in that kind of like content in that kind of way, because she has it's like a bird's eye view a little bit of what happened, and I don't remember it the way she does, but I believe her more than me because I was out of my mind. So like I said, if you want to watch that video, hopefully I'll post it tomorrow afternoon. Hopefully she'll come over tomorrow afternoon and I can get posted before tomorrow night. So keep an eye on the page for that one. But just wanted to put this one out there, and things are going well. I'm going to keep chilling and relaxing and taking my time and try to get this shoulder a little bit more mended. The eclipse is coming. The weather doesn't look fantastic. We're going anyway. I want to stand in the shadow of the moon, even if there's clouds in between. That's all it comes down to. So hopefully we'll have some stuff coming up for the eclipse part of the trip. So anyway, well, I think it's Thursday. It's Thursday. You all have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. And hopefully we'll be back on tomorrow. And I'm gonna maybe look for a better article to maybe possibly attach to the description that's, more like, I don't know, more general, more understanding, more compassionate. But if I can't find it for this one, maybe I'll do it on a future channel or on a future video. So we'll see what happens. I'm not pushing to do anything, but I did feel like I was compelled to do this one. So anyways, you all take care. I'm done. Happy rest of your Thursday. We'll hopefully see you tomorrow. Bye.